Holy smokes, guys. I am really sorry. So as far as I can tell, I think part of this is because of OBS, and then the other half seems to be a bug in Crusader Kings 2. But I believe what's happening is my family tree is so huge that when I'm trying to give away these titles, I'm running into a kernel panic. Like, basically, when you see the stream go down, it's because my computer is completely blacking out. It's a full-on kernel panic, and I need to just do a hard reset on everything. So, with that in mind, I'm going to... I'm going to do my best to kind of dance around that. In the end, I think I kind of want to see how far... Yeah, we're still on this crusade. So we're going to wind up doing the same thing a third time. But what I might do is just... when the crusade is over, what I'll do is I will hard save the game. I might even take the stream down for a second just so I can get past that bug. And then we'll be back to continue on with the play. Oh, the stat... sorry, guys. I hope that fixed it for you. I really appreciate you guys sticking through this, by the way. I have a feeling I'm off Team Panda once this stream is done. I don't meet the minimum technical requirements. All right, you know what? I said it's more fair if I let this battle go through, but screw it. I'm disbanding this group right now. Gives me more troops to fight with in the future. All right, excellent. It feels like it's been a while. Okay, excellent. Thanks, guys. Reggie's writing my review. Now I need to come up with something really nice to say about Sir Wedge. Yeah, actually, maybe at this point I should be, after all those things I said about Team Panda and, certain minimum standards of quality, please do not take this stream as a representative sample of the quality of Team Panda. All the other streams are much better. Incidentally, by the way, I should have been giving credit where credit is due. Kite260 is a fellow member of Team Panda. So in addition to being a ridiculously generous individual, he's somebody who I know he's streamed more recently than that, but the last thing that I got to watch him do was play co-op with Superior Blaze. So, I talked a little bit more about Clara as a manager on Team Panda rather than the quality of her stream individually. But honestly, like Clara is kind of the model by which I kind of, measure the relative success of the stream. If the more that I could make my stream like hers, the better off I think I would be. Although I definitely couldn't hope to carbon copy her. But on that note, in terms of streams that I've really enjoyed watching, Kite260 did a sort of a co-cast with another streamer, Superior Blaze, who was hanging out here a little while ago. And it was Portal 2. It was co-op, and it's I really enjoyed playing Portal 2 co-op myself. But being able to see the two of them interact and the chemistry that they had on that stream was fantastic. And it kind of reminded me, how much fun that co-op is, but also, it was almost more fun to watch them play that game together than it was, for me to actually individually do the co-op myself. So this is definitely a streamer that, again, we have some new faces in the channel. I know I've encouraged you guys to follow Kite260 in the past, but he is definitely a streamer who I think is worthy of your attention. And I mentioned that particularly because of the Team Panda connection. I know I spent some time trying to communicate why I thought it was a good team, but I suspect visiting Clara's or visiting Kite's channel would actually give you, I think 5 seconds in their channel is going to do better than any verbal communication of the quality of those streams that I can give. You press the fought 3 wars at once, oversized family, crashed game twice, killed in-laws to fix crashes. 10 out of 10. Yeah, I have a feeling if I open up the in-laws menu to kill them, it'll crash the game. Alright, so I'm starving my troops. Forgive me for not doing the review again, but obviously at this point you guys are going to be watching these engagements for a third time. Great. So this in particular, so my liege, since I arrived in Westmoreland, there's never been a shortage of soldiers reinforcing the troops stationed there. Under our guidance, they believe fame and fortune awaits them. So one of the things that I did in this game as far as trade-offs, and, I was talking about, rather than getting buried under this mountain of information in this game, to focus on a particular strategy. I mean, this is, in the end, this is what grand strategy is about. Grand strategy is not just a genre that Paradox came up with, but is actually a concept in international relations. And so the idea is, rather than, and I always need to, I always feel like a little bit of a fraud when I talk about some of these military things, because there are people, both who watch this stream and people who I know, who actually have done service. So, again, please take take this with a grain of salt, because in the end, I'm an overeducated, underexperienced blowhard when I talk about some of these things. But grand strategy is actually a concept in international relations, and so it's not just tactics that win you a battle or strategy that will win you a war, but grand strategy is the use of all of the tools of the state in order to achieve your objectives. So this is a little bit more apparent in Europa Universalis 4. Again, we're talking about the difference between the Middle Ages, which is this very privileged elite who are sort of engaging in intrigue against each other. And again, you may be king, but that doesn't necessarily mean you always get what you want. But, and in contrast to Europa Universalis 4, where you have this more monolithic state, and in this case, you really are using all of the tools of the state in a much more cohesive way. But even with that in mind, right, you have a number of different vectors through which you can engage in your strategy. You can attempt to send your diplomat to try and sow unrest in your opponent's nobles, and as a result, their levies might be lower than they would be when you finally go to war with them. I've used on many occasions the fact that I have a very large amount of wealth to buy up all the mercenaries. And, it's not even just a question that I use the mercenaries well. It's the fact that I've bought the mercenaries and they're not available for my opponent to use. Having a very high degree of piety potentially allows me to get money from the Pope, which again is going to allow me to take an advantage over my enemy. Lots of different ways that you can deal with these things. So the idea of a grand strategy game, one is a cool name for a genre, but it is actually attempting to take this recognized concept from, international relations or history or something like that, and to make it a part of the part of a game. Remember that Tom Cruise movie where he restarted his day every time he died? That's a Tom Cruise movie? I know there's Run Lola Run, which has that idea. Maybe a guy like that is in your army. Every time he dies, your game crashes and goes back. Yeah. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do here is save. Galmar! I have no idea why the audio isn't coming through, but thank you very much for following the stream. There we go. Especially on such a gong show of of a stream. It's nice to have a vote of confidence coming through. I don't know how long you've been watching, but the owner of the team that I'm on was coming in here, and that's when the crashes started. So it was called Edge of Tomorrow, I believe. Never got around to seeing it. Yeah, I think what's the last Tom Cruise movie? Oh, well, last Tom Cruise movie I watched is an old one, Minority Report. Well, that's because I watched it on DVD. All right, so let's take these titles again. And because I'm paranoid, I'm going to save again. So this is going to be tedious for the next little while, but I have a very specific reason for doing it this way. Hey, Black Dahlia, how's it going? So I was going to say, we've got a lot of people from Team Panda coming in again. I mean, that's kind of the way these things wind up working, but in addition to Kite260 and, of course, seriously Clara herself, I should also mention, too, so Sir Wedgie's kind of gotten short shrift on this cast, because even though I do not believe he is officially a member of Team Panda yet, he is... I will call him the mod-in-chief on Seriously Clara's channel. And it's one thing that I recognize, too, that, you know, I do my best to mod when I can for Clara, but my attendance isn't as regular as I'd like it to be, especially with school. And so, without fail, Sir Wedgie has always been there. And in fact, in some ways you can kind of credit him with my membership in Team Panda because of his, you know, it's one thing to meet Clara in a meeting for Twitch streamers, and obviously, you know, I'd seen her stream at the restaurant which hosted it, so, you know, I had some reasons to stop by, but every single time I walked into the stream, Sir Wedgie would be there giving a hello. He still does that. Every single time you visit Clara's chat, you will always see him greeting people, you know, the best attitude I have seen in a mod any place. Clara very commonly talks about how her mods are central to the channel, and I mean, she could just as easily say that about Wedgie exclusively. And that's not to speak ill of the other mods, because the other mods are fantastic as well. But Wedgie is kind of the... Wedgie is the bar that you set for this level. So basically, the fact that I was feeling so welcome, of course, brings me back into Clara's channel, and so as a result, I become a little bit more involved. I see things like her, you know, her Team Panda, and, you know, clearly I would be streaming without it, right? But the fact that I've become a member of this team, the fact that there are people like Dahlia, the fact that there are people like Wedgie, the fact that there are so many of these people, you know, coming in and giving me the support. I mean, we hit 200 follows last stream, and Dahlia has done a tremendous amount to, you know, to bring people in his own channel, to, you know, force them into this weird little channel here that does a lot more talking than playing, and to encourage them to come along. So to get that kind of encouragement has kind of compelled me to stream a little bit more often, and so as a result has forced me to become a better streamer than I was before. I mean, obviously there are limits to how effective this training has been, but that's on me, not on the people who are encouraging me. So again, I guess the recognition that this is how strange it is for the little things to, you know, it's always the little things that kind of push you to act a certain way, right? I stream more because I became more involved in Clara's channel, and that's, you know, due in part to Wedgie. I also stream a little bit more often, and I feel the encouragement because of people like, you know, like Black Dahlia. You can never quantify something like that, right? But obviously, in retrospect, you kind of learn how these things work. But with that long introduction out of the way, Black Dahlia is another member of Team Panda. He's somebody that I have actually co-streamed with, and I should do that more often. It's just the timing doesn't seem to have worked out as much. But we did Men of War, Assault Squadron 2, in which I completely sassed him for the for the duration of it. He has this very strange obsession with playing the Germans in World War II. So if you are looking for the Team Panda representative of Nazis, he's it. But he's actually done a couple of interesting streams recently. So he's got his friend Jason. He did a computer building stream with his friend Jason. And again, this is going to be a fairly slow process just because, again, I'm saving my game each step so I don't have to constantly reconquer these territories each time. But he has been doing, I believe it's The Last of Us with his friend Jason, where they are, like, it's 2 players, 1 controller. Which is it's fun to watch. He also has special command for Um, Black Dahlia loves the Germans, indeed. Yes, Black Dahlia. It's well. It's. I was gonna say it's hot air from System Shock to match the match the temperature. All right. So we've locked in. Okay, there has to be a slightly more efficient. Okay, actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to exit. I'm going to save and quit, and then I'm going to come back into the game and see maybe if I've got a resource that clears out my memory each time I close an application. So I'm going to close that, reopen it, and then I'm just going to give another piece of territory to a member of the family. I'm a little paranoid about this, but it's basically just because I really rather not crash one more time. So you can see it in the corner there. You keep it exclusively keyboard. Yeah, you were mentioning that you were mentioning that it really hurt to have two people on a controller. Trying to get one going with Weebro. You know, we should do we need to do Wanderlust Adventures again. You know, I spent so much time talking about Dahlia, but I didn't say the thing that I need to, which is throw the man a follow. I hope I've sold him enough for you. And I know this isn't about Crusader Kings 2 a lot. I mean, there's a side of me that thinks I should just turn the stream off for a second. Because I know OBS is also going to be taking a fairly big... Actually, let me see if I can get away with a trick on OBS. Okay, this isn't going to be pretty for a second, but I'm just going to change the CPU usage preset so I can eliminate that as a cause. Limmel, how's it going? So Limmel is somebody who I got to I've had the pleasure of meeting at the EXP bar meetup. He's actually a Crusader Kings 2 player himself, but another interesting thing that happened was we got talking about our academic interests, and we're analyzing it from two different perspectives. But he's actually using a data set which is very similar to one that I've been using in economic study of conflict. So in addition to having a commonality in terms of a game that we play, we have a commonality in terms of academic interests. Although I suspect he'll probably be engaging in his a little bit more effectively than mine. I'm a hack. All right, so we got to give Ungvar to a member of the Roses. $511 living members of House Rose. How about an Uber stream where all the people in Team Panda pick a country in Crusader Kings 2 and play against each other? The madness would be glorious. Honestly, I would... Yeah, T. Clark, but you forget I don't read. I'm going to be chilling out and lurking. You really need to just chill for the night. Talk to you later, guys. Thanks a lot for stopping by, Black Dahlia. Actually, Clara's hanging... Well, I mean, Shand is streaming right now, so if Clara has an ounce of sense in her, she's going to be in that stream. But thank you very much for hanging out. And yeah, see, this is the catch, right? Is that as much as I like Crusader Kings 2, I would not want to inflict it on other Team Panda members. This is definitely a very acquired taste. We did it, chat! We distributed the titles without the game crashing. Of course, that logic may explain why things always go to hell to you within 25 years of starting a Crusader Kings 2 stream. Honestly, T. Clark, like, this is the thing that's fun about streaming games like this too, is that especially if you do Iron Man, like, you have to deal with the situation you find yourself in. This game is not like Civilization where, you know, things are distributed evenly, or the game doesn't pretend to be fair. If you're the Byzantine Empire, you're able to crush some small count that's neighboring you, and there's no mechanic that's going to save that small guy. The small guy needs to deal with it. But it's also a very different way of playing games, because generally games nowadays don't let you fail. So, Akakadak, you're going to head off to bed. Been a long week and you have to rest. Excuse me, for some grilling done tomorrow. Awesome. Always a pleasure. Akakadak, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much for stopping by. It's always great to have you in chat. Sorry it was so messed up, but I am very grateful to have you either keep your standards low or having such a forgiving mood. If you play games with the knowledge you will eventually lose, it's a lot more satisfying when you last a really long time. That's why you loved Dwarf Fortress when you were younger. Oh, bring on the ribeyes. Good lord. I think we need to make a road trip. Have a great one, Akakadak. But yeah, so I mean... Or was I going with this? Yeah, so I mean, the possibility of failure in this game... I like the fact that they only give you achievements if you do Iron Man mode, because obviously that compels you to... You know what? I should be a little smarter than this. There's no point... Like, yes, I can cross the river and... Now, there's still a river there. I mean, yeah, I can just cross this river and engage them because I have a 5,000 troop advantage, but why give them any advantage, right? It's not like they're going to completely siege this territory before, so... I mean, potentially I lose more territory to the Abbasids. They're laying siege to that. But I can just turn around and recapture it. Also, it gives me more time to build up my troops in other territories. But yeah, so I mean, you have fun with it, right? The purpose of this... I mean, one of the things that's interesting about this game is that it can actually be very enjoyable to play a small unit, right? One of the problems that I've run into on this playthrough is that the larger my empire gets, the more individual interests are at play, and so as a result, the more difficulty I'm having implementing my policies. So, for instance, my spy master has not been able to steal technology in probably 2 centuries because I've been constantly trying to deal with these factions that are trying to do something that I don't want them to do. You don't have to run into that if you're a smaller country or a county or something like that. So, in the chaos of battle, your men have managed to corner Jacob, who I believe... No, he's not the leader. He resisted bravely before they slew him. Good riddance. And we are losing. How is that even possible? In the chaos of battle, your men have managed to corner Geza. He resisted bravely before they slew him. Okay, good. I was getting really worried there for a second. So, I mean, that was costly for us, right? We started with 21,000. We now have 18. But we got what we wanted, so this is pretty much a done deal as far as this adventure is concerned. In a Paradox game, it's not so much the possibility of failure as the probability of failure. Yeah. Does House Rose part of Germany and Austria? Yeah, House Rose has opened franchises all over the continent. Got a little bit of the Middle East, we got a little bit of Scandinavia, you know. Makes it very hard when people start to invade us, but... As I said, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Okay, I still need to stomp the hell out of these guys. They're coming to Salzburg, where is that? So the big question here is whether or not this is going to be enough to deal with the Abbasids. Songor was captured in battle and is now your prisoner. Okay, well, good for him. Eventually I will ransom all of these. The big thing I want to avoid is ransoming any of the Abbasid prisoners. The reason for that is that they are actually leverage in this war. So if I give away some high priority prisoners, I may get money, but that's going to come at the cost of war score. And right now I really don't want to... I don't want to give any war score to the Abbasids. My liege, I managed to sow dissent between Wali Sina of Lempura and his liege Sheikh Pelsing. I hope this pleases you. Nope, I would much rather dissent be sown between the ruler of the Abbasid Caliphate, not one of his subjects. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about strategy. We have... Actually, I don't know what's going on here. Oh, Hungary's allied itself with Theitmar. Okay. So one of the things I could potentially do against this adventurer is to punch Hungary a whole lot, but that's going to, in my view, that's going to be more harmful than anything. All right, now this is actually a fairly big concern, because if you look at this, we've got 10,000 troops here, 12,000 troops here. So I've actually lost some of that initiative as far as taking out Abbasid troops. He's got 34... He's got access to 3,400. So, here's what we do. We're going to stand all the troops down. Oh, is this my retinue? It's a bit of a shame, but... Well, you know what? Let's just disband it. It's easier. So this is basically a full reset. And what we do now is... Basically, I'm taking all of the troops on the continent... Or sorry, on the in the British Isles. I'm going to get them together to, well, first of all, deal with these troops here. And then on top of that, I'm going to have at least the beginnings of a resistance to the adventurer. Obviously, I need to be careful that this 30,000 troop stack doesn't come and gobble up these smaller units. But basically, as much as I would like to deal with the Abbasids immediately, they're becoming stronger. So I have the advantage in absolute numbers, but I have the disadvantage in terms of positioning. So what I'm going to wind up doing is, again, I didn't necessarily want to have to deal with this adventurer first, but because I'm basically taking all of these troops, basically the 60,000 that I have access to right now, I kind of want to consolidate them as best as I can. And, sorry, I just need to figure out the best way to organize them. I think I'm just going to move everybody to this area and see how this stack responds. Basically, the idea here is that I need to get the biggest advantage in terms of numbers to deal with the Abbasids. The fact that they can get 30,000 troops in one place is a bit of a concern to me. So I will because I'm taking this minute to sort of regroup, I'm going to... It'd be kind of silly for me to go all the way to the Middle East just so I could return and deal with the adventurer. So instead, I'm going to get sort of my Doom stack together and then, kind of sweep over the territories, I guess is the best way of expressing it. So looks like these guys are just going to sit there and wait to be clobbered. House Rose even owns a weird chunk of land in the middle of the Middle East surrounded by Abbasids. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the source of the conflict originally. Basically, the Abbasids get sufficiently strong and they'll just declare war on that pocket. So, which is definitely disadvantageous to me because it just takes so much effort to come and defend it. Okay, so these guys are heading to Leicester. I'll get these guys moving south. One thing that's deceptive about those troop numbers that I have is that it's true that I have access to 60,000 troops, but it doesn't mean that 60,000 of them are going to be... Oh, you know what? It's probably troops that I had. I think I just needlessly threw away a whole bunch of lives in this area. Again, an advantage here is that they're losing a lot of troops to attrition. The disadvantage is they're now at the 60% mark. So I actually need to... I really need to get on top of this this war. Nope. That was just one of my advisors trying to intercede on behalf of a prisoner. So yeah, basically that 60,000 number is not necessarily accurate because it doesn't mean that it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have 60,000 troops that I can commit to a war with the Abbasids. It means I have 60,000 troops I can access across my territory. But if they're in remote areas, like let's say 10,000 of those troops are all in remote places, which I can't really justify. There's no point in taking that extra time to move the boats all over the place. I need to make sure that these guys, so they're going to arrive in Mertrola on December the 11th. So these guys need to travel a different route. What about these guys? I mean, the problem with this, these aren't guys... Like, I'm not actually fighting these guys. There's some other rebellion. December 16th, December 11th, and they're outnumbered, so I need to disband. I might possibly win through technology, but I don't want to risk it. So the risk that I'm running right now is because I'm going to spend this time dealing with 30,000 troops. That's actually not that bad. It's a very weakened force as far as morale is concerned. So even though they outnumber me, I'm still going to win that fight. There's a couple of armies in the world right now that you aren't fighting. Why don't you go ahead and declare war on them as well? Well, number one, I have troops raised, so the game won't permit me. So yeah, I mean, my biggest worry is that I'm going to be dealing with 30,000 of these adventurers' troops, which means that the force that eventually faces down the caliphate is going to be severely weakened. Now, I mean, do I think it's going to cut my 60,000 troops into 30,000? I'm not that pessimistic, but it's a big puzzle in how I'm going to how I'm going to make the numbers work on this. How many can this support? 41,000? Okay. I guess I can always keep taking a look at the Middle East and seeing what they're doing there. So yeah, they're gonna be taking some fairly heavy casualties. Now the problem is that they are gonna take the last. They're gonna take the last holding in a county, and then they're gonna have 7,000 in terms of reinforcements. So I'm going to need to be pretty quick once I do deal with this. Once I deal with this guy. I wonder if I'm able to actually do a white piece. I don't want to, but... No, still won't do it. The war is indecisive. Interesting. Alright, we still might be able to... We still might be able to take this from the Abbasids, but it's going to be a bit hair-raising for a while. What's always bugged you about this game is that it seems to be almost impossible to create any sort of iteration of Habsburgs without getting demolished. It makes me wonder how they got power in the real world. Yeah, I think one fair... I know this game really attempts to do history right, but I would suggest that my experience with the game suggests that it for all of its efforts to try and make sure that, everything isn't artificially balanced and that, history kind of turns out the way it's supposed to. I'm not entirely convinced that they've achieved that goal. Now, whether or not that's a desirable goal is an entirely different question, right? Oh, do I really not have enough room? I don't. So that's whittled down to 7,000. So really, it's 14,000 troops that I need to deal with in this theater. But they grow troops fast. They're back up to 43,000. So I think it's actually really possible that they're going to outnumber me once I get to... Once I actually engage them, it's possible that they're going to outnumber me by a pretty significant amount. The devs said they're going to try and balance Byzantium to lead to the inevitable demise without player involvement at the hands of roving Arab tribes. Although I know, actually, one thing that interested me a little bit. Oh, the Teutonic Order gets more territory. The Teutonic Order, in an effort to defend Lithuania against pagan attacks, King Lubartas has granted the Teutonic Order the county of Minsk. This province has never been fully settled, and many of the population are still heathens. This noble gesture could help protect the endangered frontier of Lithuania, as well as further holy war against pagans. The infidels should tremble. We're not necessarily friends of the Teutonic Order in this game, but I have a feeling our wars with them are basically over. But yeah, so you were talking, you're speaking quite highly of the Common Sense expansion, but when I was looking at some of the Steam reviews, I don't know if people are complaining about the expansion or about the changes they made, like the patches that they made to Europa Universalis 4 to accommodate the new expansion, because it seems to be very negative. Like whatever efforts they made to make the game more historical seem to have infuriated the player base. Now, I mean, again, it takes a lot to make me cry, right? If the game is legitimately better and people are just complaining about things being different, I'm not that bothered. But I thought it was interesting to see that reaction, especially after the people I know and whose opinions I trust sort of had a very different feeling about the expansion. So once I wipe these guys out, I actually need to have a very different approach to how I'm going to engage the Abbasids. Like right now, what I've done is I've taken this big 41,000 troop doom stack, and they're going to punch the living daylights out of this adventure in Lyon. What's going to happen when I get to the Middle East? Notice that I don't have any coastal territory that I can land on my own, and I'm basically going to be facing up against 2 stacks of about 8,000 troops. So the plan here is I'm going to actually divide my fleets up so that I have roughly about maybe 10,000 troops in each one. I might just break it down into 2 stacks of 20,000. It depends what these coastal areas can support. But basically, I can't afford to have one big doom stack anymore because each of these coastal areas can only support about 20,000 troops. The intermediates can only take about 14,000 troops. So effectively what I would wind up doing is starving my troops before they engage in any combat, which is the least desirable outcome. What I might want to do is just completely ignore these troops altogether and go and reclaim my territory. But I'm not completely sold on that. What I might do is I might take 2 20,000 troop groups, set them up here, and then take another 20,000 group and deal with the north. We'll work that out when we get there, but I also need to figure out how I'm going to incorporate these guys into the attack. First thing we need to do, though, is get there. Whenever you're doing an attack a marine attack, you're going to wind up suffering some damage to your morale. So right now I'm just waiting for them to get at full strength before I engage the adventurer. Again, I might have a technological advantage over them, but I don't want to lose any more of these troops than I have to. And generally, this is more Lancaster's laws, or Linchester's laws, in play here. Well, at least Linchester's linear law. But basically the math of the engagement, the more I outnumber them, the fewer casualties I'm going to have. It's a bit of both. People who are miffed about the change overall on top of the UI changes making it a bit of a pain for mod developers, and those who pride themselves in exploiting history like I do, you're quite pleased. Switching to your iPad. See you in a second, Limmel. Actually, on the history point, there was one thing I was going to say, which I think is kind of scummy of Paradox. I mean, it's like it's an interesting idea. I'll give them credit for originality, but the fact that they're charging for it, I think, is kind of silly. But I'll wait till Limmel's back to make the point. So the game seems to be loading at this moment. Hopefully it's not another crash, but while we're dressing up for the big confrontation with the Abbasid Empire. So while we're waiting for that, how's everybody's night been? Does anybody have something they'd like to share with the class? I'm losing a lot of troops here. So part of the good news with the war with the Abbasids is the losses they were experiencing in Azakara basically was enough to make them abandon the siege. So again, that buys me a little bit of time. 61% is really scary to be at, especially when they've got 16,000 troops breathing down my throat, because, I mean, again, they're fighting for Damascus. They already have almost half of the duchy, so it doesn't take a whole lot for them to tilt that war score to 100%. It's been a good night overall. Sir Wedgie's relaxing. Got back from camping today. Nice. Took your first real shower in 6 days. That must have felt good. I'm definitely... I think I do better with nature when I know that it's completely optional to me. But I do, like, I've enjoyed camping when I've done it. But definitely there is something to be said for the first shower back in civilization. I think I'm just going to raise more boats. So effectively what I'm doing here is just chasing down the last of this group so I can put that war to bed. And at that point I can dedicate every single one of my troops to fighting the Abbasids, who, again, have more strength than I was originally anticipating. But so long as I don't do anything too ridiculous, I should still be able to handle. In fact, I'm actually going to send these guys to the... This is a bit of a dangerous strategy to employ, to send them to the Middle East right now, but I can always withdraw them pretty quickly. It's taking way too long to deal with these... usurpers. Kind of curious about this alleged surprise. Well, it depends. It actually, so one thing that Superior Blaze said was a little discouraging to me. He said he was feeling a bit sick on his 24-hour stream. What I was hoping to do was he's been wanting me to give him a little bit more in-depth teaching for Endless Space. So I was hoping that we could do, like, we could raid him. And we'd do a game of Endless Space together. But if he's not feeling well and he's ending his 24-hour stream, that may not be possible. Wait. I kind of need to get all these troops together in one spot. I should have checked to see whether or not Superior Blaze was actually in the chat for that. Oh, that guy doesn't appreciate their own brand of stink. Yeah, so it's not a massive surprise by any means. But I don't know. I thought it'd be fun to do with Superior Blaze, who's been really supportive of this stream. But it's also, I know I normally finish kind of after a 3-hour mark or something like that. So the fact that I can do some overtime on stream would also be kind of nice. They have pretty good personal hygiene. Excellent, Wedgie. I expect nothing less of top mod. Actually, speaking of which, Wedgie, what have you been playing recently? Duke Wolfgar II, my co-conspirator, tells me that a man is now on the inside of the prison. Oh, you know what? I don't want to assassinate him anymore. Who do I want to assassinate? Nobody at the moment. It's kind of a first. So the catch with this strategy in the Middle East is going to be if, like, it's smart to file the troops out this way. But the catch is that if I get caught off guard by one of their larger stacks, then I wind up seeing my armies cut in half without really any escape plan. So now the flip side of that is that I also don't need to worry about I don't need to worry about like another war that I'm working on. Oh, Final Fantasy XIV, doing that as we speak. Yeah, I keep forgetting that this is really not a stream that people watch. This is a stream that people put on in the background. Which I'm happy. I'm happy to have you all here. But I always, like, the funny thing is I always talk like you know, I use the mouse to circle around certain things. I always talk like people are watching, and I know for a fact that this is not actually the way that people like watching this stream. Hey, we converted people to Catholicism. So we will remove the last of West African religion. Whether we do that before the end of the Middle Ages, I have no idea, but... You're only fighting one group of people right now. How strange. Yeah, how very unrose-like of me. So notice what's happening here is I'm moving 17,000 troops. Now, they're at half morale, but it's moving on top of 250 troops. The worst that can happen is they move the 443 in. There's 9 who has absolutely no... You know, they don't have any morale. So the big decision that I need to make with these guys is whether or not I decide to go and recapture some of these territories, or if I kind of jump around and start gobbling up these smaller units. It's definitely a nice way for me to get some cheap... I'm not really going to get that much cheap war score, but it's definitely a nice way of keeping them from growing a little bit too strong. The drawback is I might get the attention of these guys. But I think I'm just going to go... I'm going to go for as much troop damage as I can. And if I need to put them back on the boats, I'll do that. You're always looking for streams of CK or Europa Universalis. It's hard to find streams of those games. You know, I've heard that about Crusader Kings 2, so that's actually one of the reasons why I normally do it on Fridays. Because again, like, the idea here is that it is not a type of stream... Like, it's a very unique kind of game. The people who really like it are... You know, they're going to be happy. I definitely miscalculated in terms of my ability to do war in this area. So I think it's better that I just work on my... I think I just need to reclaim my provinces. It's going to take them a while to get into position, so... We'll get the remainder of the troops on the boat. I think we should be good. If the Abbasids get organized, I need to worry about their numbers. But we should be able to pull this off. But yeah, so, like, again, I know I've said this a few times, but it probably bears repeating. You know, a Friday night, there's a lot of very good streamers out there streaming almost any game that you would want to see. But it's very hard, even on, like, downtime or, you know, or prime time. It's, you know, it's hard to find this game being streamed. So it seems to me that, you know, Friday, for people who want to watch other games, it's the best, you know, it's the best time that they can go and see whatever they want. But the people who want to see Crusader Kings 2 are, you know, it's kind of immune to, you know, some big streamer coming up and playing something popular. Like, the people who want to see these Paradox type titles have a very narrow focus on what they're looking for. So it seems like a good time to play a game like this. And I mean, I personally enjoy playing them too. It's just I'm not a grand strategy only stream, because I think I'd go insane if I was only playing Europa Universalis and Crusader Kings 2. Alright, it's as if I see Seolflade, these names, for the first time, her good-natured spirit, the interesting and funny quirks she has, and how lovely she really is. Could it be that I love her? Embrace the love that I feel for my wife. Gain 5 piety. And hopefully she can give me a male heir finally. Actually, how old is she? 42? I think that's past childbearing age. Should I assassinate my wife? If anybody can tell me what age they stop bearing children. So this is something to pay attention to, is the 10,000 troops here. Once they combine with these guys, all these smaller units actually become an issue. But I've got 12,000 troops coming as reinforcements. On the assassination point, too, all that I'm asking is that, you know, I can trade up for like a 19-year-old wife who can give me a male heir. Love you, dear. Slowly pulls dagger. Yeah, you know what? For safety. Let's get a new wife. I won't, like, fund the assassins. Like, we'll give her a sporting chance, but... Wow, that can only support 9,000 troops, eh? I actually thought we could do more, so that's a bit of a concern. I'm also getting a little bit worried with the numbers that they're pulling in this spot, but the 5,000 is not going to be able to take on the 8,000, and then the 7,000 is going to be combining with the 12. So we'll actually probably can clobber them here. May 5th. Ah, they leave on April 26th. That sucks. I don't really want to chase them either. So I believe with this 22,000 stack, they're actually I'm gonna lose some to attrition. I don't know about the reproductive systems of women. It's a mystery. I thought they could pop out babies till 100. You thought the stork just left them off. All true. All true. But Crusader Kings 2 does things a little bit differently. I think I'll just cut this in half and gobble up some of these smaller units. As long as the 10,000 stack doesn't come too close, I'm happy. I don't know what's going on with the 5,000 here, though. Actually, that's a disaster if I do that. Okay, 5,000 south, 8,000 here, and 8,000 laying siege here. I have a feeling this is going to go up in flames, but... What I'm trying to do is just have enough troops in the general area to be able to answer any reply. Basically, to give a reply to anything that the Abbasids do. So if they move those 5,000 troops into a spot that's threatening Azakara, well, I have 8,000 to immediately respond. Actually, I think I'll move these guys right now. If they move the 10,000 to threaten, you know, an area, I want to have, you know, 16,000 to reply to that. Honored Emperor, I ask your forgiveness if I've done something to offend. I obviously wouldn't dream of associating with any faction conspiring against you or your enlightened rule. You are forgiven. Let's find another faction to break up. See, system chalk, that's why you need at least one lover. Hedge your bets that way. They can give birth and you can acknowledge them, marry them off for diplomatic reasons, and then if need be, legitimize them later. Well, I'm not playing well. Like, in this case, the game's going to decide if I get a lover randomly. If I had Way of Life, that would be different. But much like real life, I unfortunately don't get to pick when I have a lover. The real life random number generator decides that. This is a little risky to move the 8,000 into this area. The advantage is that I possibly get some free kills. The drawback is that the 10,000 troops are sitting in the neighboring province. 24,000 Abbasid troops. That's a worry. Not a major one though, because again, I can collapse the 8,000 stack and the 5,000 stack in. I assume you weren't very pious, T. Clark. Oh yeah, speaking of piety, we need to do something that we always do with our rulers. So, currently, Maccus the Wise of Britannia, who loves his wife so much that he is currently assassinating her so he can marry a 19-year-old, or maybe even a 16-year-old, to get a male heir, has got 3,379.8 piety. Pope Leo VIII has 1,594.2 piety. There is a girl from France, so far as fancies me, I don't believe is a... I believe that's a matter of speculation. Okay, so they're trying to move 19,000 troops on me. They are going to arrive on July 28th. If I move them, they arrive on August the 17th. That's way too late. But I do outnumber them. So for safety, I'm going to move everybody in there. And they're stopping. So I'm going to run this out as long as I can. Because if I can keep these guys in stasis, I get to continue laying siege to these provinces. I get to lay siege to this province. And they waste a whole lot of time. Yeah, so it looks like they're trying a different tack. Basically, as long as I can keep them from moving into any of my territories, I win this. It'd be nice if I could get them to start getting attrition with that 24 stack. I think that's kind of wishful thinking. But we'll see. Pretty pious for a pope, but you'll hear his confession now. Yeah. In your last attempt at Crusader Kings 2, your son's wife became your lover the same day your wife gave birth to your daughter. I'll do you one better. I know I keep talking about this story all the time, but I actually had a... Hey, I think we just got... Oh, wait. I don't think this is the last of the West African religions. I think that's a... I believe that was a Muslim country that we just converted. Yeah. Yeah, so this, I had an affair with my son's wife. I legitimized the bastard, and the bastard assassinated the son whose wife I had the bastard with, and he wound up inheriting the kingdom. 10 out of 10, would cuckold again. So one of the worries I have about this strategy is that the Abbasid Empire is actually really good at generating troops. They're at 41,000 right now. I mean, they've taken out a lot in terms of loans, but their decadence has also fallen. So it means that basically their morale isn't taking as big of a hit as it used to. So, I can continue this. It's one thing to continue the slow burn. Like, notice that even though they have 24,000 troops in the area, I haven't actually needed to engage with them. But the catch of this is that the longer I wait, the bigger and bigger the eventual doom stack that I need to deal with is going to become. So there's a little bit of a trade-off. Like I need to make sure that I get some results as far as the reclamation of territory is concerned. Otherwise, I'm just going to wind up having a lot of troops in the theater that wind up dying, and I either need to hire mercenaries to recover, or I wind up losing this war after all this effort. But again, the way that I handle that, the one thing I am worried about is that these troops are moving around the side to claim Azakara. And the reason for that is I don't have a good defense for that yet. Mostly because I've had these troops in this area here trying to defend the stack of 18,000. Now, what does it take? These can take 18,000 and they can take 27,000. So most likely the war would actually occur in Damascus. But what I might want to do is, after these guys are finished polishing off these troops, I might actually want to move them either to Amman, or I would want to have them sieging Al-Habraya. I think it'd be better to have them in Amman, just because I'm not going to be losing troops to a siege. See, I'm not worried about 2,000 troops, but I don't know where those 20,000 troops are right now. It's one thing that makes this game so engaging. You never know what kind of shenanigans the game's going to throw at you, and eventually, yeah. Well, I mean, again, this is the really interesting part of being a ruler-focused game, like the individual level, as opposed to the national level, which is which is the focus of Europa Universalis. And again, it's just really interesting that they decided to take a position in terms of what the key element of a historical period was and how they translated that into a gameplay mechanic. I think it's actually a really smart move on their part. I mean, it's funny. I've actually seen some Europa Universalis streams which actually refer to Crusader Kings 2 derisively as the Middle Ages dating simulator. And I don't necessarily think that's an unfair estimation of it. But, obviously it's... I consider these to be advantages. Okay, so this is an ideal situation right now. They are losing troops by remaining in here. Now, what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and reclaim this territory that I'm about to win in a siege. Now, they have an absolute advantage as far as troops are concerned. They've got 24,000 to my 18,000. It's actually going to take me a long time to get people there and time as well. So they are going to arrive on the 23rd of December. These guys are going to arrive on the 29th. These guys are going to arrive on the 4th of January. And these guys arrive on the 8th of January. So by all rights, they should win this war. But the fact that I'm moving reinforcements in means that they're going to stop the move. I think they should stop the move anyway. Duke Oskil is a rebel and a traitor. The false sweet words of the false pope have swayed him. I still don't know what this means. Notice that they abandoned their attack, so what I do instead, at no cost to me, the siege continues in each of these provinces. They lost the troops to attrition, and I'm more or less guaranteed to win this siege now. Although I want to know where Baalbek is. That's to the north. So I think they're moving to I think they're trying to make a move on Damascus. But again, the longer I can tick these sieges, the bigger advantage I'm going to get as far as war score is concerned. So the idea here is just to try and bleed out the Abbasid Caliphate as long as I can. And they're heading to Hama. So why are they doing that? They might be at war with somebody else now. Ah, they're at war with... Okay, so this is fantastic. They're at war with the Byzantine Empire right now. Which means that once I finish all of my sieges here, even though that they're potentially regaining their troop strength, I'm actually going to be able to declare war on them because they're going to be divided as far as a war with the they're going to be divided so far as a war with the Byzantine Empire is concerned as well. Need to appoint a new... Oh, I need a new chancellor. Not quite sure I'm going to use the chancellor for, to be totally honest. Let's see if there's any vassals who are upset with me. It's kind of wasteful to have all these boats in the periphery here, but it's still kind of nice to have this potential ability to move some of these units to the sea. Okay, they're heading to Seyfed. So the same idea here is I actually want them to move to this territory because that's when they're going to start losing troops to attrition. I let them spin their wheels there for a while, and then I move my troops in. Yeah, so they're moving to Irbid, which means I move to Irbid. And Damascus just turned Catholic, so if we want to see what's happening to the Middle East, we're slowly converting them to our religion. Alright, and again, they abandoned the siege on Irbid, so I can afford to call back the troops. And basically we just rinse and repeat this. We're also slowly ticking back these territories. So notice that Irbid we've recovered the main holding. We're going to be recovering another holding in Azakara. And so long as... Actually, they're going to clobber me in a second. Looks like they're heading north. But I'm possibly going to need to move these guys into Azakara in a second. But basically, so long as I can sort of continue this this cycle, I'm going to slowly start reclaiming my territory. And all the while, I mean, my troops in the UK are rebuilding as well. So as long as I'm not losing too much to attrition or any of these skirmishes, I should be good. So it looks like they want to do a siege here. This doesn't quite make sense to me because I can always just reply by moving the 17,000 troops in. Now, it could be that, again, they're trying to move through Damascus and stomp me there. But in this case here, what I might do is I might hold off on engaging them so that they lose troops in a siege. Oop. I'm starting to think Withbirth might fancy me. Well, speaking of affairs... Make a move. Yeah, so they tried to do a siege, but instead they move up to Seyfed. I went to Withbirth's chamber and gave her a good tumble. It's good to be emperor. Her ambition's to get married. She's lowborn, 21, no major attributes. It's good to be the emperor. Okay, obligate the vassal. This is, again, just to break up some of the factions. So again, just when we're talking about different strategies we're employing, these are some really worrying numbers, right? 8,000 troops here, 20,000 troops here, 5,000 troops here. The best thing to happen is have them all go into one area, so that can translate into a lot of attrition that they take. But what I want to make sure I can do is that any move that they make on Irbid can be replied with an overwhelming force. If they feel like they can still win even with these troops moving in, that they're going to continue attacking Irbid, and all of the effort that I've made to lay siege to each of those holdings and reclaim them kind of gets erased. On Honored Emperor, thank you for reminding me of my duties and obligations as a vassal. You are right, of course. For the foreseeable future, you have my promise not to support factions conspiring against you. So we move on to the next biggest. Wow, seniority succession in Bavaria is a pretty big faction. How are we doing for troops? So we're at about 70,000. Well, we haven't done that much of a dent as far as the Abbasids are concerned. So they're up to 50. Remember that was 40,000 before? So the best I can do is if I can claim enough war score back that they're making a move on Irbid, eh? The best thing I can do is if I get enough war score to enforce demands, but that's actually a really tall order, so the next thing I might do is if it looks like I'm about to get clobbered, I can disband the troops and do a white peace. Okay, they're running again. Again, notice it's actually getting it's getting harder to form a credible threat. Against 34,000 troops, I've got 24, 29, 36 is definitely very wishful thinking. But these guys are going to be losing some pretty substantial numbers in a minute. And again, I'm assuming that the Byzantine Empire isn't completely sitting on their hands during this whole thing. Still want to take white peace, eh? I mean, it's good for me, because as long as I can continue to rinse and repeat this strategy, I'm going to be in a good spot. Isn't this exciting? So again, they're going to make a move on Irbid. This time I'm going to let it go a couple of days. So they arrive... Oh, August 19th. I actually need to jump on that right away. They might follow through with it now. Nope. Chicken. This is incidentally, we had somebody, I don't know if he's still in chat, but when he was asking about multiplayer, this is where multiplayer would actually become more difficult, because right now I'm relying on something of the cowardice of the something of the cowardice of the AI to take advantage of reclaiming these territories. But clearly, if this was a human player, they'd probably make a commitment, and I wouldn't be able to employ the strategy. On the other hand, I also don't think a human player would wind up with like a 140,000 strength empire. So, oh, interesting. So notice what they're doing now is they're making a move on Sur. So that means that these troops are wasted. There's one of two things that I can do. I can try and move them onto the boats, but I'm actually going to see if threatening them with the 17 stack is enough. Because again, I still outnumber them when I do that. Yeah, they're not going to commit. Which is good for me, because again, the longer that they spend in that area, they're going to be losing troops. A book without a title was pushed into my hands by a hooded man clad in midnight blue. Something was said, but lost in the confusion. The book is still there. Hey, wait! My Emperor, I'm pleased to report that the majority of the population in Irbid has been converted to the Catholic faith. Your humble vassal, Bishop Bjorthmayer of Aquileia. The secret within the book still eluded me after several weeks of intense study. Wasted time and wasted ink. The man couldn't be anything but a maniac, filling precious parchment with malarkey and incomprehensible symbols. I learned to love books instead. Emperor Maccus the Wise gains the trait Scholar. Illumination will be removed from Emperor Maccus the Wise. Alright, so we got a faction to worry about. I believe my Spy Master is actually already taking care of it. There's a little bit of a worry because if they do actually try to press their claims, I think the engagement with the Abbasids actually precludes me from dealing with them properly. But we won't really worry about that until that becomes an issue. Again, also the AI is disorganized when it comes to factions, so it might be a fuss over nothing. I also have enough money to raise a mercenary army if it comes to that. Alright. So this could potentially become an Empress. So in this case, I'll go for somebody with some fairly good stats overall. Are the Byzantines actually doing anything? I don't get to see too much of their territory. I don't see any troops raised. What are their forces looking like? They got 80,000 troops, but they're broke. I could give them money, but I think they just waste it. I'm just going to send a boat out to see what they're doing. I mean, I do notice that like these troops are moving north, so it's not like the Byzantine Empire is just sitting on their hands, but I don't know how credible of a threat they are. Like, there's absolutely nothing in this area. Oh, looks like they're moving on Irbid again. Yeah, so they're not really doing what they're supposed to. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and ransom the prisoners who are not who are obviously not Abbasids. So banishing him gives me 1363 gold. Now I can afford mercenaries if my vassals become troublesome. Yeah, 6 gold isn't a lot, but a lot of Tengri, which I can obviously afford to dump. It's pretty profitable enterprise. I mean, maybe I just buy some mercenaries and actually engage these guys on... No. I think stay the course is the better act. Now watch, the Byzantines have an army of 80,000 strong and all the soldiers are on the wrong emperor, wondering where the enemy is. Yeah, I don't know what Byzantium's up to, but that's fine. I can I mean, the key here is that I'm reclaiming territory that they took from me. And eventually, once they don't have a claim on any of Damascus, then they're going to start surrendering their war score per turn. So like right now, the last thing that I need to do is take a bishopric, which is a very weakly defended structure. This is a little bit more challenging. I still have a city and a temple to take, although one of those is going to fall in a couple of turns. What I'm sort of doing here with Sur is just putting the herd on some of their territory. So in addition to the fact that I'm reclaiming territory that's been lost, I'm actually actively taking territory of theirs. But these guys are positioned more to back these fellows up. And so far it's somewhat effective. To the craven coward Macus, your low character is a subject of Greek plays. I accept paying your ransom for the safe return of Mayor Yasugi. Oh, it just started? Sorry for the crackle, guys. That should fix it. And actually, for safety, I'm just going to save the game, because sometimes mic crackling means that there's going to be a crash. By the way, welcome Bujisima. I don't believe I've seen you speak in chat yet. Thanks for stopping by and joining us on this. It was something of a scattered stream originally. Now we've sort of just settled in and we're playing Benny Hill with the Abbasid Caliphate. But in fairness, their full troop strength is about 140,000 to our... I don't even know what our maximum troop strength is, but it's small. Great, thanks. Yeah, so it's cheeseball as anything, right? But remember when this used to be a really scary stack? Partly this is them moving troops probably to deal with the Byzantine Empire, but they're losing so much in attrition just moving such large numbers around, which is one of the reasons why I have these troops divided. It's to avoid the problem that they're running into. In some senses, it does allow me to lay siege to more territory as well. But practically, this is just about making sure that any losses that I experience are due to sieges rather than starving my troops by overcommitting them. You love watching CK2 streams? Been enjoying my stream so far? Well, thank you for saying that, Bujisima. It was definitely, we were having some crashes earlier on, which was particularly embarrassing because, seriously, Clara, the partnered streamer who runs Team Panda, the team I'm affiliated with above, stopped by for the very first time and got to see me completely flounder. So, if you see that label removed, you'll know why. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. I don't know if you're a seasoned player. I should actually say this is my very first playthrough on Iron Man mode. And it was, we started at, I didn't have the Charlemagne expansion, so I began in the Old God start, which was about, I think, 867 AD. We're now at 1421, so not too much longer left in this playthrough. But looking forward to putting a close on this decidedly ahistorical journey of the House of Rose. We began as the Count of Westmoreland and have kind of created the Empire Britannia and just have expanded out and created franchises all across Europe and the Middle East. A holy man came to court today to talk about matters of faith, but it soon became clear that he held rather unorthodox views. Being a zealous defender of the church at all times, I believe I did the right thing when I gave orders to imprison a blasphemous pagan who dared criticize my faith in the church. Deus Vult! I was still shaking with rage at the pagan's blasphemous words when Duke Ceolwulf took the opportunity to whisper, "Good work," in my ear. Thank you. I really needed that. Watching this war with the Abbasids, you love the notion of two armies just standing in the desert staring at each other. Well, okay, so I don't know if this is this can't be the Battle of Marathon, but this was one of the wars of Persia and the Greeks. The Persians outnumbered the Greeks, but I can't remember exactly what it was, but the Greeks had a better position And so the Persians actually, they kind of just stood there looking at each other for the longest time. And, again, at some point, it occurs to the Persian commanders that, at some point somebody's going to need to report something to the great king. And so it's a devious strategy that they employed. What they did was they took half of their army and they moved it towards Athens, which would be completely undefended because the Greeks are tied up on this field. And I mean, they still outnumber the Greeks even when you cut these armies in half. But now you have got, the objective of the war, of course, is Athens. So you now have this overwhelming force of Persians getting ready to assault it. But in addition to that, you have now got the Greek army tied up on this battlefield, and the theory is that if they engage, they're going to be defeated anyway. So they create this this lose-lose situation. Now, historically, what happened was this is the war in which I really wish I remembered the name of the general. He's a really impressive guy, but his strategy was to strengthen the flanks and thin out the middle to about as as far as you can go without effectively putting your troops on a suicide mission. And it was a risky ploy. And in fact, basically right around the time that the center broke, it was where the flank succeeded. And so basically just as the Persian army is able to break through, the flanks wrap around it, and they actually wound up beating the Persians. And so I like to imagine a Michael Bay ending to the story. It was a complete rout. To the back of the Persians was a swamp. So effectively, they just run into it. The Greeks catch up with them and effectively massacre everybody inside of it. And so without taking a break, they rush back to Athens. The half of the Persian army is heading back. And of course, it is only appropriate to imagine that when the Greek army arrived back in Athens, the Persian ships around the bend, right as the noonday sun gleams off of the bronze helmets of the Greeks, a bunch of angry spear-holding hoplites are waiting for those ships. And of course, the Persians are left to think about what they're going to tell the great king. To the righteous crusader Macus, blessings upon you and your house. We propose a white peace under these terms. The Caliph loses 150 prestige, and I gain 66.25 prestige for beating the followers of the Prophet. I don't like those terms. I hope I don't need to take it to 100%, but I'm willing to do it if I have to. So, by the way, I told that story a lot worse than it should have been told. It's actually that particular engagement, like in terms of all of the elements that go behind great stories, that has one of them, because one of the starting engagements was actually the Persian army taking Miletus, which is sort of this. It's really the first city in which anything that we recognize as Western philosophy was practiced. And so there is, this image of Miletus being, razed completely to the ground. And so you have, these disorganized collection of groups, the Greeks, fighting against the Persian Empire, and all of these great cornerstones on which we now rely on the modern world falling. And so you kind of have these, these really huge stakes in terms of the course of history, but I'm kind of giving little fragments of the story. So, but yeah, so the last time two armies in the desert stood there staring at each other, it didn't go well for the Persians. So I'm happy to continue that tradition. Problem is that they're not dying to attrition anymore, so we're bleeding them out as far as war score is going. But something might happen in this area. We'll see. Basically, as long as they fail to engage me, I win this. By the way, if you guys don't mind, I haven't taken a break yet. I know they've been it's been, jumping on and off as far as the stream is concerned, but I am just going to take a small break so I can get some water. Then we'll be back to continue. I'm going to try and continue as much Crusader Kings 2 as I want, but it is actually getting kind of late as well, and I would like to surprise Superior Blaze with some Endless Space. So if you can give me a second, I'm just going to grab myself some refreshment. I encourage you guys to get up and do a bit of a stretch yourself. I know it's been a pretty long go of it, at least as far as I'm concerned. So just bear with me. It won't be more than 3 minutes or so, and we'll be back to do some more, I don't know, running around in the desert avoiding fights. Thank you for my patience. Thank you for your patience, my good people. Let's take a minute here to realign ourselves. So again, it's really important here that I need to keep on top of making sure that they're not heading to Sur or Irbid. If I neglect that, this cornerstone dies, and I'm probably not going to be able to regroup sufficiently to be able to retake these areas. Now, the good news about that is that I can still get a white piece, but if I can enforce demands, I get even more cash, and I'm able to retaliate by taking some of their territory. The retaliation in taking territory is actually going to be particularly difficult because they have a fairly credible response in terms of their army now. But I have a couple of ideas of how to deal with that. I have a new heir. If your character dies, you'll now play as Princess Wolfhade of Britannia. Oh, wow. She died of pneumonia. It's actually pretty dangerous. I don't have that many heirs. I also need to abandon my ambitions to have a son, because that's not going to be happening with his current wife. Let's improve our stewardship. It's a side of me that kind of wants to improve the army, or military, but I don't think that's going to work. Oh, hey, Unknown Arc. What have you missed? Honestly, we've kind of gotten into a bit of a holding pattern. So the very start of this war was the Abbasid Empire with about 140,000 troops declaring war on our little area here, specifically trying to take Damascus. They clearly have the largest army out of any empire, even the Byzantines. Now, during that, we also had a crusade for Hungary, and then we had two separate adventurers come with like 30,000 troops each to take our territory. So effectively, we're fighting about 4 or 5 wars at one time. The strategy we employed against the Abbasids was to have these little skirmishing groups kind of take territory here or try and take territory to the north. And what tended to happen was they'd create these large stacks, which would lose a lot to attrition. And so in this case, we've whittled them down. We actually had them to a point where they were at 30,000 troops, although now they're probably at 50 or 60,000, 50,000 now. So we're cheesing it out by basically reinforcing whenever they try and threaten one of these areas over here. And the AI is, it has commitment issues, so it's not properly engaging me. I do also have the advantage that now the Byzantine Empire is attacking the Abbasids, but I suspect for everybody it's actually been pretty boring because we've just been going in circles trying not to lose our empire. But more importantly, how have you been, Unknown Ark? I think this is the first I've seen you speak in chat tonight. I hope you're well. Hope you are enjoying this as much as you can. Good luck, have fun. Thank you. If you're not hanging out, hope you have a good evening. If you are hanging out, hope you enjoy what you see. But have a good evening one way or the other. Oh, see, I screwed it up. So the question is whether or not these reinforcements can come in time. Oh wow, we're gonna kick their ass. So the problem is I'm gonna lose a lot of troops to attrition here, but this is a really good time to strike. What do I do about this? So this can only support 14,000 troops. If I chase them, then I have to deal with 23,000 plus the 1,000 here. So I actually think I just move back and I threaten. You may have to go soon, but you'll enjoy this before you go. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. I certainly kind of appreciate where I am in the food chain of streams. So it's certainly... certainly understand if it's not everybody's thing, but we're always happy to have fresh faces in here, because I know... I always keep saying it, but it's always... Okay, I really need to commit these extra troops. Well, actually, we still might clobber them. Nope, we are losing hard. Wow! Alright, so we lost 13,000, they lost 28,000. Wali Sadin Tabor was captured in battle and is now your prisoner. Sorry, I completely... the game took my attention. That was hair-raising. So we combine... It's really tempting to cut this in half and chase them down. Let's get greedy. Okay, sorry, I'm missing everybody tonight. Sorry, I'm focusing on the game. All right, you need to get back into CK2. You're a couple expansions behind on EU4, and you've been so wrapped up with Fallout. Oh, all good games. Thanks to the Steam sale, actually, and specifically... Oh, wow. I'm actually really under... I don't have enough morale to pursue this. Let's just move next door. Let's not get greedy. That sucks. I really could have... I could have possibly crushed them, but I don't want to have to go against... Okay, they're heading to sewer instead. You know what? That's fine. And sorry, Sir Wade, have a great night. Thank you very much for hanging out. Thank you for giving the support. Please be nice in your review. And thank you for keeping the browser open. There's actually, I really appreciate the number of people who've come in here tonight. It's I'm not usually used to seeing double digits, so it's nice. Oh, just for clarification, this battle is two armies standing in the desert staring at each other, and we haven't actually seen the Byzantines do anything. Absolutely true. Oh, and on Ark, I completely missed the message where you said I seem like a cool guy. Thank you. I don't know whether or not that's an accurate description of me, but it's one I'll take. I probably do a little bit more talking than playing, which is, I don't know if that's quite the way I should Twitch properly. But I tend to notice the one thing I will always be very grateful for in terms of the people who stop by here is that they will always give me something interesting to talk about. I always get a new perspective or a new insight in terms of the strategy for the game. And I definitely like talking about the mechanics of this game because, as I was talking about a little bit earlier, this is the first Iron Man playthrough I've had of Crusader Kings 2. So it's neat to get some feedback. I don't always incorporate all of it. I've definitely had some differences of opinion as far as strategy go, but it's been a fun run. And if you notice the date, we're basically in the last 30 years of the game. And who would have thought when we had 140 screaming followers of the Prophet that we would see Irbid back in Ro's hands? So the question is, how greedy do we get? We could possibly... Oh wait, this can support 29,000, so we're gonna take them. We're gonna take them on in open territory. I wonder if we can enforce demands yet. No. Losing but won't give up yet. But notice that there's only 2 minus signs, so we've definitely got them on the ropes. So they head to Safed on July 24th. I arrive on August the 8th. I'm not going to get there on time, so what I'll do instead is move troops in position to... Oh, it looks like they are sieging. You know what? I can live with that. I'm actually going to wait for them to commit. Once they commit to here, I'm going to collapse on them. Alright, so this is the new Empress. Big one because of the territories I've been taking. I want to have a high stewardship. I think I'll go with Wolfgar here. The military isn't exactly where I'd want it to be, but he's sort of my best bet. All the other ones are a little too extreme. What games do you play? No problem. How long have I been streaming? I've been streaming a few months now. I think I started around November of last year. I definitely started streaming more often when I joined Team Panda. I do Crusader Kings every Friday. And then on Monday is my other guaranteed stream night. We usually do... it's a little bit more variety at that point. In particular, we did Shadowrun Dragonfall. We played Titan Souls last time, Endless Space. Tend to play usually indie titles and strategy titles. And I try to stream a little bit more often. Lately, it's just been Mondays and Fridays, and that's because of research. I'm currently in school. I just did my undergrad in economics. I'll be continuing on for a master's degree. And I notice even though it's summer, I had a very kind instructor who invited me to do an interesting research project, and that's just translated into a lot more time away from stream than I would like. The only advice you can give me for this game, System Shock, is don't do the same stupid stuff that gets you dead in 25 years. Haven't you done any crazy random starts in the character design? I don't actually think I have the character designer. You're awful at this game, but it's fun to do random things like start as a Norse Zoroastrian in the middle of Ireland. Okay, now you're convincing me I should do the character designer. Yeah, I haven't really done any random starts. This is probably my third game of Crusader Kings, first game as in Iron Man mode. And basically we began as the Count of Westmoreland, and one day, son, all this will be yours. We've basically opened franchises of the Rose Dynasty all over Europe, usually to our detriment. But yeah, so I mean, I would say overall, I'm quite a new streamer. I've definitely been taking advantage of some extremely supportive individuals, such as Sir Wedgie, who just went to bed. Seriously Clara, who was in here a little earlier. Seriously Clara, who runs Team Panda, which you'll see on my name, or just above the stream title, rather. And I like it. I definitely suffer from some hardware constraints. Clearly, you know, my bandwidth isn't what it should be. But I like it. It's a fun hobby. This is probably a mistake to overcommit these troops, but I don't like where the morale's going on this. Okay, well, didn't need them, so. Character designer is way too much fun. Yeah, this is actually one of the drawbacks, too, is that as much as I like this series of games, I think Paradox is not exactly the most consumer-friendly with the way that they do their DLC. So I'm always a little suspicious in terms of what winds up on offer. I think in this case we'll cut this army in half and we'll start chasing down our enemies. I don't see where that other big stack was, so I think what we'll do, we'll claim kind of a landing spot. Actually, let's do one better. Let's see if we can enforce our demands yet. Nope. You still have untouched armings and holdings. Well, yeah, we're probably not going to be able to conquer the entire Abbasid Empire, but I think it's fairly obvious I kicked your ass, sir. With your 10,000 troops. Alright, fair enough. But yeah, so Superior Blaze was actually kind enough to donate a Way of Life, so we are caught up on all of the DLC for Crusader Kings 2, and then I got the cosmetic kind of DLC with the Steam sale. And then for Europa Universalis 4, I don't have Common Sense because it hasn't gone on sale yet. But one of the drawbacks is because, you know, again, I'm not entirely convinced that Paradox is the most consumer friendly with the way that they do their DLC, unless I have unless it has a very clear effect in terms of the way that the game works, or it's you know, an obvious DLC, you know, not something like the Aztec one. I tend to be a little bit gun shy about getting it, so probably not the best attitude to take with the games, but all right, how do we? I mean, given the way that my last daughter just kind of died out of nowhere, I think I should be training her, assuming that she's going to become an empress. But the talent pool is actually pretty thin. All these options suck. Actually, this isn't so bad. You only buy the random useless DLC and super cheap bundle. Yeah, for like 75% off. I mean, you're paying like 50 cents for a cosmetic upgrade. I'm okay with that. You think you've done a lot better with EU4 as far as mainly releasing expansions rather than a million cosmetic DLCs. I think that's a fair assessment. The one problem is that I don't understand how EU4 works at all. Wali Jibril of Cav de Tyron was captured in battle and is now your prisoner. I have no idea who these people are, but I'm happy I'm capturing them. And they are going to be in Druze. But yeah, the combat is... I mean, I think the biggest thing is that you can sort of rely on Linchester's laws for combat in Crusader Kings 2. So, have a significantly larger army than your opponent and you basically win. And it seems that if you employ that strategy in EU4, you get your ass handed to you. So... I think it's just a matter of me sitting down and properly learning the game. But in the current format, Friday nights are Crusader Kings 2 nights, so I sort of have the incentive to spend the time learning CK2, and I also find CK2 is a little bit more intuitive to learn. And Europa is really interesting, and it's actually a period of history that I'm more interested in, but it's one that I haven't been able to quite figure out so far as the conflict goes. That moment in CK2 when your good heir dies and a moron takes the throne. Congrats, everyone hates your face. Did it just get a lot smoother in here? Jaspu raid! Oh my goodness. So we've got Inspector, Vendelo, Mecha Fanboy, Parish, Broadnax. She told me to show you my 6 moves. Are you not entertained? I am indeed entertained, Parish. Bloody Grundle, good to see you again. Nyson. Yeah, no narc. Every once in a while, somebody decides to take mercy on this ramshackle little stream and raid me. Welcome, Jazzpoo stream. I am System Chalk. I'd have no idea why anybody hangs out here. Now, we're playing Crusader Kings 2 tonight. This is a common Friday night thing. We get to see a big map of Europe, give you an idea of what this game is about. We played a lowly count of Westmoreland. We fought off Viking invasions. We became vassalized to the King of England. And one day, son, all this will be yours. We founded the Empire of Britannia. We conquered Iceland. We went down into Spain. We conquered West Africa. We took some parts of Scandinavia. Hell, we even went on a crusade for Hungary. And now we have some part of the Empire of Britannia and Hungary as well. But right now, we are engaged in religious war against the followers of the Prophet. 140,000 screaming Sunnis tried to take Damascus from us, and we are currently putting on a clinic. We've got good Christian soldiers enforcing Catholicism. All the white areas are Catholic. So, congratulations. We are holier than thou. And generally, we're just... Awakened Artifact, thank you very much for the follow. But yeah, so right now we're just kind of we're going through the motions. We actually had a big fight. I thought I was going to lose in Irbid, but we wound up beating them. So in this case, we're just sort of cleaning up the enemies. All right, so let me just take a look at the rest of let's take a look at the rest of them. Jazzpoo says, suck it, system. See you stream, it's not an illusion. Yeah, Jazzpoo, you were playing Crypt of the Necrodancer tonight, weren't you? Awakened Artifact doesn't know the Ray words, but we're happy to see him anyway. Suck it already, Jazz. Cool. Take this. How do you find this voice boring? You don't. System Shock is a voice gasm. Find any male interesting. Hey, Mecha Fanboy. All males are potentially interesting. K for Kevin is worst. Oh, thank you, Awakened Artifact. That's kind of you to say about my voice. K for Kevin is worse at EU4 than he is at CK2. Mostly watch Arumba. Remember the things he said, then choose to forget them and rage quit when your whole army dies. Yeah, I've done that. So you prefer the gameplay of CK2, but there are a lot of good mechanics in EU4. You also prefer the time period. Definitely. Your voice is like 1,000 screaming badgers. Honestly, as a Awakened Artifact, everybody is uncomfortable with the sound of their own voice. It's something that you get used. Sounds like me, Kevin. I think everybody it's like that. We have serious talk in System Jock's chat. When you're here, you ruin everything. Yeah. That is a healthy host, Jazzpoo. 23 viewers? I don't think I've ever had 23 viewers except through a host. So welcome, everybody. Thank you, and thank you for all the people who've stayed. I know whenever I've done a host myself, it's always been difficult to get people to hang out. So I definitely appreciate it. Jazzpoo, I originally met as a mod in Black Dahlia's chat, and of course now she's doing her own stream, which I don't get to watch as often, but she's been extremely supportive in terms of give me the odd host whenever she finishes streaming. She hangs out here even though I'm playing these strange little strategy games, but they're popular enough that some people show up and say, this game looks interesting. Right now I'm trying to... So I have the option of offering a white piece, but this is only going to get me some minor gains. What I really want to do is enforce demands, which is going to get me 1,000 gold and 200 prestige. Oh, sorry, 1,600 gold from the Abbasid Caliphate. So basically we're just trying to do shakedown. Too bad he's a dick in Dahlia's chat. Dahlia reacts to it. By the way, I'm not always a dick in Dahlia's chat. It's just everybody has a very selective memory on that. Awaken said the same thing, yeah. Oh, and we had Duck Game as well. Everyone should be a dick in Dahlia's chat since he's a dick. A lovable dick, but a dick nonetheless. Well, the other thing too, right, is that I've been on his stream and had established something of a reputation for being an ill-behaved buffoon. So here's a question out of the new people. Oh, I've got another daughter. Wait a minute. I thought my wife... Wasn't I trying to assassinate my wife because of... she can't bear children anymore? Ah, it seems my amorous adventures have resulted in a child. Litter Singrith is my spitting image. It's actually a side of me that kind of wants to legitimize her just to ensure the bloodline. My daughter will hate me for it, but... yeah, we're legitimizing her. Chalk, do I play Terraria? I do, as a matter of fact. I've established a reputation for pronouncing the word nuclear. I know you spelt it incorrectly, but... yes, Awakened Artifact. I do play Terraria. Now, it's important to remember I'm playing this on a Mac, so unfortunately when I play Terraria, I play it off-stream. My Mac is my school computer, basically, but it has a good graphics card and it's able to support streaming, although the Mac version of OBS is decidedly primitive. So in the case of Terraria, I tend to play that kind of on a co-host with other people. Is the audio skipping? Am I hyped for Tuesday? What's happening on Tuesday? And by the way, as far as audio skipping, is anybody else experiencing that? Oh, 1.3. I thought they were done supporting Terraria. So I haven't been following it at all. So what's happening with Terraria? Well, obviously the 1.3 update, but what's going to be coming in that? Oh, the game audio is skipping, but my sonorous tones are still coming through. 800 new items, 3 events, new NPCs, biomes, and enemies. That's cool. I did order Starbound. This is actually before it was available. But, I mean, I'm not happy with it. So it seems like Terraria is kind of picking up that slack and actually delivering. And a final boss. Interesting. When's the last time that I played? I played after the last big patch that they released. All right, seeing another woman behind my spouse's back is becoming quite troublesome for me. The lies tear at my soul, and longing to be with my lover is almost too much. It's time to end such affairs and settle down. It will work out if I give it a bit more effort, and I don't care for my spouse. If you couldn't read, I chose the third option. I'm continuing the affair. I mean, I'm trying to kill my wife already, so... So I could currently take on this 3,000 troop army, but I'd actually feel a little bit better incorporating it into this siege. So much new content. You've watched the trailer with a plant boss? I don't believe I fought a plant boss. So, but then again, I haven't seen all of the material that was in that patch. So it's possible we're talking about the same patch, and I just haven't experienced all the content. Team Panda has actually done or not Team Panda, but the Seriously Clara, the kind of the owner, host, sponsor of the team, have done mod nights with Terraria. We should actually try and do that again, especially because there's a new patch coming out. Did you just wake up or something? You've been fervently waiting for you. You caught up in Terraria and ROM stream, then went out for food. By the way, out of curiosity, so it looks like there's a lot of people from Jazzpoo's raid that are staying through. How many of you are familiar with Crusader Kings 2? Who would like an explanation about what this strange game is all about? Yeah, Awakened Artifact. Post away. Terraria is a good game. I'll wait till this fight's over, and then we'll see if we can enforce demands. I may need to wait for 100% to enforce demands. If I have to do that, fair enough. We're making money anyway. I mean, we're almost at 5,000 gold. Unknown Arc, thank you very much for the follow. Have a great night. We look forward to seeing you again. I will definitely watch the trailer. So a word, especially for the new people, my upload bandwidth on my ISP is a disaster. So I can do one thing at a time when streaming. So as far as the trailer, I will definitely watch the trailer, but unfortunately I am constrained to streaming or turning off the stream and watching trailers. So I will definitely check out the Terraria trailer. Obviously, if any of you in chat are interested, you don't need my permission to go watch it. But for my own part, I'm afraid I'm going to have to. I'm afraid I am going to have to sit it out until I finish streaming for the night. Don't remember this game very well. Let you go look up some pictures. You only have audio. Audio only is fine. I don't think anybody actually watches this game for the pictures. For the benefit of people who maybe just want to lurk or something like that, this is a grand strategy game by Paradox. This is Paradox is traditionally known as a publisher. They do things like Magicka and that. This is a game that their development studio has produced, and it's a grand strategy game where we're talking a little bit about how grand strategy is not just a genre, but is actually it is actually a concept in international relations. It's the idea of using all of the tools of the state, not just armies, but diplomacy, economic advantage, things like these to engage in your... Nyson, thank you very much for the follow. Time for sleep. Have a good night, all. I appreciate you following before you leave. I definitely look forward to seeing you again, and I hope you have a wonderful sleep. Looks like NPCs actually do stuff now. Oh, in Terraria. Seen this one before. I was thinking of a game with a different name. Like as an example, a Dryad will cast spells to attack monster, and the nurse will heal herself when injured. Neat. That definitely sounds like a good patch. Most of all, though, I'm actually very surprised that there's continuing to support that game, because I could have sworn that they said that the last patch was like the closing patch. Maybe Pixel Piracy just wasn't that successful, so they decided to go back to Terraria. I don't know. But yeah, so the name of this game is it's taking the Middle Ages. You can begin as early as, I think, something like 767 or something like that. But basically, this game is very focused on individuals. In this case, it's not like Civilization. So Civilization, you kind of take this role of a social planner. And if you want to turn the United States of America into a fascist dictatorship, you push a button and that's accomplished. In the case of Crusader Kings 2, this is entirely about interpersonal relationships. It deals with kind of the fragmentary nature of the feudal system. You have, delegated authority. You can be a king. You have dukes under you. Dukes have counts under them. In this case, I'm an emperor, so I could, in theory, have kings under me, but I just took all the king titles for myself because the House of Rose deals with nothing less. But, hang on. CK2 synopsis. Sleep with your illegitimate son's wife, pick a fight with a much larger empire, pick a fight with 2 kingdoms, fight 3 wars simultaneously, kill wife for not giving you a son, legitimize your son, the son of your illegitimate son's wife gave you, watch everything go to hell. Yeah, T. Clark actually just described tonight's playthrough. Mecha Fanboy, thank you very much for that follow. I don't know why the audio is not coming. There we go. Shock, you're going to put a dog in bed now, you'll be back soon. Thank you, Jazzpoo. And again, thank you for the raid, but I suspect you'll be coming back in a minute. But yeah, so the focus of this game is not just it's a little bit more. This game's a little bit more about realpolitik. It's not just this is not a knock on Civilization, by the way. Civilization is probably my favorite game of all time. But basically, what this game is, it's less about sort of the celebration of humanity's accomplishments, which is what Civilization 5 is, right? You build the great wonders, you interact with these great figures from history. And instead, it's focused a lot more on, okay, this is what I want to do, but the people who under me don't necessarily follow the same vision. Clearly, if you were to become president of the United States, you could not declare that open elections were now illegal. So the idea of Crusader Kings 2 is sort of a collection of it has kind of these RPG elements. You have individual stats for these people. Your rulers will have certain positive and negative traits. And this game is all about amassing prestige and piety. So the prestige of this current ruler is 15,301.934. This is sort of their reputation, their majesty, are you, Queen Elizabeth, or are you some unknown, duke from history that only a specialist in a university is ever going to know about. Particularly, this game is about the dynasty that you hold. So the game ends if you don't have a legitimate heir to inherit your kingdom. So in this case, it keeps track, and right now we're at 197,000 combined prestige and piety. And that's the only way that the game is scored. So currently we also have 5,000 wealth, which the game sort of interchanges between wealth and gold. But basically, we are an extremely wealthy nation, but that doesn't really count for anything. What does matter is the impact that you've had on the world, and the way that you measure that impact is your prestige and your piety. Redigit is still going strong, and they are making a Terraria sequel. Looking forward to a Terraria sequel. I really need to start paying attention to this stuff more. Your synopsis basically summed up every CK2 playthrough ever. Well, I'll give you credit then. You get a lot done in those 25 years. All right, we're at 68% war score. Can we enforce demands yet? No. Terraria has cloud support now, so you can save your worlds online. That's a great feature, because I know one terrible thing about some of the playthroughs I would have is I'd have these wonderful playthroughs, on a computer, or on somebody else's computer, and they'd lose interest in Terraria. So I have this beautiful castle built, which is never going to be seen again because the guy who has that file isn't interested in the game. So I think cloud support is definitely a big plus. These ships are going to waste, so I think I'm just going to put them back on territory. I also suspect, I'm at 57,000, but I suspect my troop strength has improved somewhat, so I kind of want to put myself in a position where I can send in reinforcements. If you think about it right, that's about 15,000 troops. That's not that impressive. It's still better than what the Abbasids have, I think. Well, they're sitting at 16, so technically they could clobber me. What do I need? I need 3,000, so I think what I'll do is I'll split off this group. I think we're just going to go hunting for Sunnis. Part of this is just pure greed, right? Like it's this is just trying to keep their armies low so that I can declare war on them next and claim extra territory. One other feature I'll mention about this game, which I quite like, is the... in many senses, this is a real-time strategy game, right? So you can unpause and you can... you can just let time run. But you can pause at any given moment. So rather than being... there's definitely a turn-based strategy game where you have these defined units in which you'll be able to perform certain actions. In this case here, it promotes more strategic thinking and saying that, life is going to move on, and you can obviously adjust the speed to whatever you find worthwhile. Oh, that was an unexpected stack of troops. It's definitely nice to kind of sink your teeth into something a bit larger, though, so as long as I don't run into like a 5,000 stack, I'll be okay. Basically, the nice thing about this is that it promotes strategic thinking, but it's a game that takes place effectively in real time. So they're going to move on the 29th. I'm going to catch up with them on 28th. That's fantastic. So I'm going to get a fairly substantial bite into their forces. Question is whether I pursue them afterwards. Peace be with you. I've discovered a plot where Adric of Concordius seeks to kill Thorod Jormundsson. I'm sure I should be concerned about that, but... Now this sucks. I wasn't paying attention and 5,000 troops caught up with these guys. So here I need to regroup. Actually, depending on the relative strength, they might be sufficiently weakened after this engagement that these 3,000 troops could come and clobber them. Not a chance. So they're still 4,300 strong. That is definitely a shame. Kind of need to make sure that I either disband them or I incorporate them into an existing army. Is anybody heading to Damascus? No, but they are going to cause me problems here. So it's a little bit of a race against time to see whether or not these guys get to Sur. Well, they're definitely going to get to Sur ahead of me. And actually, their morale's okay as well, so I might be in some serious trouble here. Okay, they're going to Tripoli. So I'm pretty sure I win this. I just need to make sure that they don't catch up with me. And I think it's a lost cause to try and claim this, so I'm just going to move them to Alzakara. So basically, I'm going to be okay. Oh, it would appear that the military of your realm was more dependent on the efforts of Jewish men than you previously thought. Since the expulsion of the Jewry, several important administrative posts remain vacant, and there simply aren't enough qualified men to fill them. And... well, we've got to... okay, let's just spend what we can. Military organization. I'm still going to wind up losing. Seeing another one behind my spouse's back is becoming quite troublesome. The lies tear at my soul, and my longing to be with my lover is almost too much. I still don't care for my spouse. Life spent in the arms of another is a life well spent. I've gained the lustful trait. Is the music bugged? Hi, Green4J Gaming. So it seems like there's a couple people talking about how it sounds stuttery. Let me try something really quick. Is that any better? Gotta go to bed. It's almost 3 a.m. Good lord. Thank you for hanging out so long. I hope you had fun. If not, sorry to keep you up so late, but looks like it's going to be solved. Definitely appreciate you hanging out during the raid. I hope I get a chance to see you again. Also, the fact that you remember your time zone is cute. You do care. Didn't solve it. Okay. Okay, they're heading to Arca. They arrive February 10th. I think these guys are screwed. Nope, February 6th, so they'll be safe. Okay, so they arrive February 24th, they arrive February 16th, and they die. So we are going to stop them from winning. I lose half of those troops, unfortunately, which puts me in a really tough spot to deal. I mean, I don't have that much as far as troops are concerned anymore. But let's see if we can raise levies. Nope. So looks like we are in need of some reinforcements. So tell you what, guys, this is an interesting breakpoint for this. I wonder if I can do a white piece yet, or enforce demands. Nope, I can do a white piece, but I don't want to. I also know this is going to tick against him the longer I hold his... Okay, so just give me a quick second here, guys. I want to check something. I said I was going to have something of a surprise tonight, and I'm actually streaming later than I was originally planning. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking, guys. I will get some opinions here because I still have quite a few people from this very kind host of Jazzpoos. I was probably going to be finished about an hour and 45 minutes ago. What I'm going to be doing right now is reaccumulating troops in Britain and moving them back into the Middle East and sort of doing the same thing I've been doing for the last little while. And one thing I was hoping to do is there is a streamer who's come here, he's donated quite a bit, he's, hosted, he's done a lot for this stream called Superior Blaze. He's currently doing a 24-hour stream, and he has wanted me to coach him in a strategy game called Endless Space for a really long time. So one of the things that I've wanted to do was I wanted to surprise him. First of all, host him for the 24-hour stream that he's doing. He's currently got about 3 viewers or so. And then do the Endless Space with him. He's not expecting any of this. And I know he was saying he was feeling a little sick, so it'd be kind of nice to be able to give him a boost on this stream. And if you guys would like me to keep doing some Crusader Kings 2, I'm happy to do that for a little bit longer and wrap up this war with the Abbasids. But what do you guys think about passing on the love to Superior Blaze? I will still, and as long as he wants to do the Endless Space thing, I will actually still be contributing. I'm going to be on voice chat with him. But I'm thinking it might be kind of nice to change things up a little bit, pass on the love to a very deserving streamer. And in this case, I can change up the game a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, we've got a few people in support. Is there anybody particularly opposed? Obviously, I know some people just watch this for Crusader Kings 2. So I know I'm going to have to disappoint some, but I just like to get a little bit of a temperature, especially because people are talking about stuttering music as well. It gives me a chance to do a little bit of tinkering in the background. You want to accept the plan unless we raid him too? Okay. Think we should raise Blaze? All right. So, as Jazzpoo points out, I don't do proper raids. I usually just host somebody and I say, okay, whatever, just go say something. What do we want to type for... what do we want to type for the raid? I don't have a good raid slogan. If not, I'm just going to say something like a rose by any other name would kick as much ass. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to host Superior... I'm going to get his... link first. I'm gonna put what we are gonna type in chat. Oh god, that was horrible. Chalk it up to system errors. All right. So I'm gonna get his link. Chalk it up as a good start. Okay, fair enough. Pull out your chalkboards, it's time to get schooled. That's not a bad one. Okay, chalk it up to... Or systemed. Yeah, we don't need to do systems if it doesn't work out. Yeah, fine. We'll just use Jazzpoos. So, everybody, please visit that link that I just put in there. All right, I suck at raids. So yeah, if everybody can please jump into Superior Blaze's chat, copy out that statement that we just had. I'm going to try and dupe him into playing some Endless Space with me, so there's a chance that I will be continuing the stream myself over there. I'm going to wrap this up really quick. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. It was a lot of... It's a lot of fun for you guys. I definitely appreciate Jazzpoo giving the host, and you guys were also very good at hanging through with me for the technical problems. And I know I wasn't as communicative at the end of the stream as I was at the start. So, I'm going to take a minute to refresh myself. We're going to jump into Superior Blaze's chat. I will see you there. Please, even if you're here for Crusader Kings 2, if you can just spam his chat so we can boost his confidence, make him feel a little bit better. And for those of you who want to stay for some endless space, I will see you in there in a moment.